Well, I want to say good morning to some, good afternoon to others, and good evening to others. We're so happy to be here today on Leslie's Lessons Learned. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and I am the host of Leslie's Lessons Learned Kingdom Living. And I'm so glad to be here today with, I can't even call her my guest, my host, Wanda Floyd. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but Wanda, one of the things I want to encourage people, and I have my mirror, and if you looked in the mirror today and you said, "Is life worth living?" I want you to know life is worth living. If you have to question it, if you have to think about it, that means that you still have work that needs to be done. And the enemy would do anything, the enemy would do anything to see you not accomplish that. So I want you to know that you were created for such a time as this intentionally. Intentionally. So when you look in the mirror, I want you to see what you were created, how you were created, and what you were created for. You were created in a beautiful sense. When he finished with us, or when he finished with man, he created man, he said, "It is good." He saw treasure in us. Not only did he see treasure in us, he saw us and he saw a masterpiece that had been created. And I'm just so excited to let you know that you are unique and there is no one else that can be you. You know, I myself struggle with that. I struggle when I hear people talk eloquently, when I hear people talk and seems like they're just so intelligent. I struggle because I'm like, I'm shutting down. I'm not doing anything because I'm not like that. But I am who Yahweh made me to be, who God created me to be. So I want to say good morning. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a deep breath in, let it out through your mouth. Do you feel that? Your heartbeat. That's a gift. That was a gift that was given to you. And every time you hear, you feel your heartbeat. Every time you voice out of your mouth a word and you have a right mind, it's all because you were created that way. So, yes, I don't want you to feel uh, less than who you are. I want you to appreciate who you are. I want you to accept who you are. One of the things I want to say, and I want to say, celebrate Leslie's Lessons Learned because this week it's been a year since Leslie's Lessons Learned has been on. And I'm so excited that I made it, that I came Sunday after Sunday and I was able to help someone else. And I couldn't have done it without you beautiful people that come on Sunday after Sunday, see what we're talking about. I couldn't have done it without my co-host, my host, Wanda and Team Charles and Leisha and Mike Johnson. They're the ones that pushed me out here. And I want to celebrate today that it's a year. And I want to also encourage you that you have nothing to do with who you are. You were created the way that you was created, and you are a gift. Not only do you have the gift of life, you being created was a gift. Now, when I was thinking about this week, Wanda, and I thought about how in the beginning, um, Elohim, God created, He created man,
Mhm.
and then He breathed the breath of God in man.
Yes.
Then the second Adam, the spirit said, "Make me a body." The spirit came in to a body that we might have a chance to the tree of life. But you know what I thought about? Adam could not tell us, me and you and me, in the sense that the spirit realm, the Adonai, is in us. It took the second Adam, that spirit realm, to connect with our spirit. We were made and the spirit was breathed into us. And now we have to connect with the spirit that's within us through Adonai. So what the first Adam didn't do, the second Adam came, and it was so much powerful, more powerful than it was the first Adam. And I'm not taking anything away from the first Adam, but if we really, and I don't even know if I'm putting it in the right sense of mind, but when I think about it, and I think about how he came as the spirit man, he came in a body to show us that we have what it takes to connect with the spirit realm to be all that we need to be. The first Adam had, he was put on earth, but he was put here with a responsibility. The second
Absolutely.
Adam came and he had a responsibility, and his responsibility was to show us how to do what we needed to do. When I thought about that thing, and I'm not even probably giving it any justice, but just to think about the fact that the Father loved us enough, and he loved the Father enough. He came because he loved the Father. He came, he loved us, but he said, Dad, and I'm saying Dad,
Yeah.
um, he said, I'll go. He didn't say, you already had the body prepared. He said, prepare me the body. The first Adam, the body was prepared, then the spirit was put in him. The second Adam was the spirit, the body was prepared, and the spirit that was in him came and walked the earth. We have the opportunity to live a life better than society has made us feel. We have the opportunity to be all that we have been created to be, other than what society has told us. Society has messed us up. I'm
Absolutely.
saying society, the way of the world, the way they think, the way that, it was created, and it makes us feel or forget whose we belong to, whose we are. So I want you to get up. I want you to brush yourself off. I want you to hold your head high. And I want you to know that you got work to do. And I want you to remember that you're here for a purpose. But one thing about it, you don't have to do it alone.
That's right.
So if you feel like you're alone and you feel like all hope is lost, I want you to know it's not. Look past where you are to see that there's a greater picture, a greater place, a breadth for you to be. So I found, I like to say, a life without you is like a world without colors. And that is so beautiful.
It
Then I
is.
found this one, and it says, feelings are good servants, but their devastation of the master is bad. So, in other words, we can't be moved by our feelings. And the word tells us that.
Yes.
It tells us that we can't be. But we as humans and our emotions, we allow our feelings to control us. So, I wanted to take this time to just talk about uh, the image, you know. But before we do that, I want to start with the video I started. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear it the first time I came on. And I think it's appropriate. Wanda, let me know if you can't hear it.
I'm trying to remember why I was created. Or at least, that's what I'd like for you to think. Because amnesia sounds a lot better than just plain ignorance. Well, see, even ignorance is described as a lack of knowledge. See, I'm just faking it. Pretending as if I don't know when really I do. I felt less than what my designer thought was best, so I suppressed who he super naturally intended me to be. No lie, I got relaxed. Then I combined by weaving in a little bit of his will with a whole lot of mine. So how do I look? I mean, because I think I look good. I mean, I have time to change and to fix any minor things I may lack. It's not like he's coming back tomorrow. Seriously, how long have we heard these are the last days? It's the same old song. Now, is it just me? Or do these last days seem to be lasting kind of long? I know I'm not perfect. I've had so many I couldn't count my falls. Niagara. Instead of responding to his call, I'd rather schedule him. Viagra. Whatever is wrong, I know that he can heal, but I want the cattle on 1,000 hills with the ability to still grab the will while grasping onto my own will like Jacob to Esau's heel. His love is based on how I feel. He loves me. He loves me not. Like pulling petals off flowers. Yes, he's coming back for us, but no man knows the day or the hour. Please. Where have you been? I've been at the altar waiting for you.
To repent. What happened? You've
Lost weight? Yes. I wanted to look good for you, so I haven't been eating my daily bread.
of heaven is who I am. But it's scary. I give you loaves of my word, but you're getting by with the crumbs of commentaries you needed.
I needed a makeover. No one was attracted to me, so I dressed up the gospel. Stay silent, sing sin, saturate sanctuaries, shadowing sight with smoky eyes because you know you are love.
No. I am your cover, girl. I make up for your lacks and deficiencies. I'm your very foundation. See, I blend with you perfectly. No need for concealer, for I'm the revealer of all. Don't you recall when I tore your veil?
So, you saying you don't like my lashes and you don't like my nails?
You don't understand. I took lashes for your lashes. I took nails for your nails. But if I'm not gaining your heart, then I'm just losing time. Because more than I want you to be outwardly beautiful, I need you to be mine.
Well, we are here now, so let's get on with the ceremony.
Knowing there'll be no one in attendance. You never extended any invitations. Too excited about the reception and all the gifts that you would get that you forgot about my presence.
Presents, dollar dances, I take quarters, nickels, and
And the world could keep their dimes. Pieces of silver don't impress me. Don't forget what happened to Judas.
you just failed to see that I've changed. I admit I lost sight of you, the absolute value. Missing the signs, so now at times with ignorance I co-sign, unable to stay away from tangents. I thought I had the right angle.
Look, I know your heart has been broken.
Yes.
But if you can keep your eyes fixed on me, I can repair us. And we will no longer be fractions being dominated by denominations.
Yet I choose to stay divided like Palestinian nations.
Yes, your files have been flagrant. But I am positive I'm the one for you. But we will equal nothing if you continue to be the negative one in this equation. Can you sense my frustration?
You are holy. So I have to impose what's legalistic, making appeals for what's already been acquitted, obsessed with overruling your objection, purposely plucking purpose.
Professing prosperity, practicing pride, prosecuting people persistently. See, when you became the judge, you took away the saints' defense, and see, you silenced the testimonies of my witnesses. So no one's ever convicted, yet so many of my children are turned away from life because you condemned them with your death penalty sentences.
Not all of them. Which reminds me, in the Lamb's Book of Life, some of their names you may have skipped. So with attendance, I stamp their wrist so that they could get in. The VIP section, we don't address their sin, neither do we offend. See, the bouncers don't trip on those who abundantly give. Besides, all of the praying grandmothers had a +1 on the list.
Well, tell them they won't see me.
Come on.
By visiting you routinely, be the example. You need relationship with me. You're far more than stained glass windows, pulpits, pews, and singers. See, if you really want to see my church, then just look in the mirror.
But you wanted me to be fine, righteous, perfect, and eloquent. But this land seemed desolate and needed development. I exceeded your budget. So I withdrew from Tyra's bank, continuing to remodel, staying culturally relevant. My girl Katrina called and said hurricanes and hard times came and you didn't make yourself evident.
I told you that I would never leave thee nor forsake thee.
I hear you, but I had immediate needs.
But you promised that you would wait for me.
You.
By the way, what happened to your ring?
My ring?
You don't remember the ring? When I called you out of darkness and into marvelous things, you wear it in you, not on you. It was my spirit, my sign to remind you and your ex who you really belong to.
My ring, I pawned. For money to get back to who I thought was my first love, he spoke to me with words so sweet He waves and I feel the sureness of my wrong decision shifted my view. He wanted me to see breathe so I could forget where the sun sets. Next, I was convinced that I didn't need to repent for my sin. He told me he could wash me with the tide that was coming in. The weather was pleasant on the Atlantic surface, but as I got to his core, the temperature drastically changed. Yes, I contracted an STD.
What?
Satan's transmitted disease. He was my earth, he was my world, and he burned me at about 9,800 degrees. I'm sorry to tell you, but there's more.
Did you think I wouldn't notice? The symptoms and the signs and your unexplainable cravings for sins of all kinds. You even had trouble sleeping.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy didn't come in the morning. Sickness, so not in my pain, in my mourning you
I
witnessed.
witnessed.
Me take the pill for the morning after, coincidentally located right next to my box of alabaster. I was too shameful to bring forth alabaster.
Stirred lies of wicked men's tongues started deceiving you and automatically planted the seeds of deceit in you. And you became pregnant with falsehood because it was impossible to conceive the truth.
Truth made me free, but I went back to what I was comfortable with, being enslaved, a mind depraved. But I'm sure you don't want me now. I'm not worth the price that you pay.
They flogged me with whips. They kept my flesh stripped. I was beat with their instruments rhythmically, which caused my skin to bleed symphonies. I could still remember the hooks like a chorus. Those weren't just 66 letters, they were musical scores which contained every note to keep us on one accord for you to always have the right keys to my heart's doors.
I just wanted a sample, but I repeat sin like Lubin 8 bars. And on my own tempo, I begin to embark. Instead of following your instrumentation, I drown out your heartbeat of timpani and your strings of harmonies. Ignore the woodwind of your spirit. If the trumpet sounded, I wouldn't hear it, or even the brass ring, because I laid tracks upon tracks of acapellas so I could hear myself sing. Majoring in minor has left me scratched like broken records, causing my life to stutter. I'm a false instructor, pretending as though I'm watching the conductor. I'm too unlawful to be a wedded wife, and I'll probably never recover.
My will was put to the test when I had to choose to escape back to glory or bear this torment upon my flesh. You was the reason I embraced that rugged cross like my child whom was long lost Mary. My own mother couldn't even recognize the disfigured face of her own son, me. It's what I gave you on the cross of Calvary. When it was done, I told you I loved you. How much? Well, I showed you. You called it crucifixion. I call it proposal. Will you marry me? You don't need a third party. You have direct access to me. And you never have to worry about remembering our anniversary, because I've yet to find a calendar with a date for eternity.
I need your grace.
Grace and mercy is what I lavish upon you. You had a love recession, but I can supply the missing piece that your heart demands, and then some.
Carve of spilled milk, I weep of your spilled blood.
Which cannot be counted in pints to measure
My
my
love was contingent on what was instant.
I know I had to come.
To repentance.
Father, forgive
me.
them.
For
they
I know not what I've
they
done.
do.
I'll get myself together.
Please.
I'll clean myself up.
Please, allow me, for I'm the only one that could make you clean. Without spot, without wrinkle, without blemish. Your bridesmaid's goodness and mercy shall follow you. It is already finished. See, it was you who I chose, even though I called many, but I am coming back for you. Will you be ready or not?
So I love that. Her name is Jeanette. That's her and her husband, and they do acts together. But I thought it was so befitting when I first showed it. But let me say good morning to everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. Good afternoon. Thank you this evening. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. As I said, I'm celebrating 1 year this week of Leslie's Lessons Learned, and I'm excited. But I want you to take a moment, hit that like button, that share button, so someone else can see what we're doing here. And also subscribe so that you'll know when we go live. And it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter how you found us, but what matters is that you get a message. And I think that the video today was a good message. I like that video. Um, uh, the poetry and the fact that we're going to be talking about what image are you really portraying. And she portrayed the image of following the world, and how if you saw her gown and how it was all ripped up and how everything was just displaced because she had separated herself from the Father. So with her separating herself from the Father, Mona, you can jump in here anytime. She didn't know what her image was. She no longer knew what her image was. And it was so powerful how when he said, I've been waiting for you at the altar. How many of us is he waiting on? Waiting on us to marry him, to come into covenant with him, to unite with him. I think that that's something we need to ponder on and think about. You know, she talked about how she got tied up, how the world, and he said, where's your ring? She's like, oh, I gave it to the one that I thought really cared about me, but he didn't. He lied to me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. He said it shouldn't be on you. It should be in you. Powerful,
yeah.
powerful.
Hmm.
That's symbolizing the word. You know, it should be in you. It's not about us carrying it around or having it in our car. You know, we and honestly, we do wear it instead of having it on the inside.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And we carry it, don't we? We put it
yeah,
in our
yeah.
car, in
We
our
got it.
glove compartment.
Yeah,
Says we put it everywhere,
it's
but it's
everywhere. It's on our keychains. It's bumper stickers on our car. It's
yes,
all over our desk in our cubicle. We have something that's from the Bible on our cubicle, so everybody would know, you know, who we represent. But none of that is necessary if you wear it on the inside
right.
because it's going to show, it's going to illuminate, it's going to bust out of you on the outside,
Yes,
right? We got we
lifestyle.
have it all over. Oh, I got some on my wall, you know.
Yes.
But is it on the inside? So good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tiffany, you said on the coffee table, girl, the coffee table was for the family Bible, the big Bible, back in the day,
Yeah.
you know.
Sitting open. It
Yeah,
was open
yes,
to
yes, yes,
to the 23rd Psalms. That's where it was.
yes, 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 yes. But when we can have it everywhere, and like you said, but if it's not being portrayed from the inside out. There's a song, and they probably still sing it. I haven't heard it in years, but we used to sing this song, "Something on the Inside, Working on the Outside." Oh, what a change in my life! And when I first got saved, I was like, "That's backwards." It's on the outside. No, if we don't have it on the inside, that inside means that that's where we begin to show our lifestyle.
Yes.
You know, that doesn't mean that we do everything right. No, doesn't mean, but what it means is that we're following something other than what the world has to offer us. And because we made a decision, we make a choice to do these things, it puts us in a better place, in a better space. You know, one of the things on 12:12 we've been talking about, or we're talking about, is the fruit of the spirit. And the fruit of the spirit, and the first one, it starts with love. Then the second one is joy. And then it talks about peace. Now that's an area that is taunted with the most, I would say,
Your peace.
that peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
even as Christians, I'm say Christians, most of us don't even really know what peace is.
Absolutely. I was thinking
Yeah,
that. Mm-hmm.
we don't know what peace
Yeah.
is. We walk around and we confess. We confess that he's our savior. We confess, but we never experience what our savior has to offer us.
Mm-hmm.
So, so some of the questions: what does that look like to you? What does that image look like? And are you are you trying? I've been saved a whole lot of years,
Mm-hmm.
but even with being saved a whole lot of years, I'm just coming into the realization, the realness of what the word means. I had surface word, but to know the in depth of the word and what the word really means, I'm saying within the last 4 years. And then when I still hear people talk, I want to go crawl up in the corner and say, I ain't saying nothing because I still don't know the word. You know what I mean? But the process is what takes us from step A to step B. And now we need to go from step A to step B, from
Absolutely.
from just knowing him to being a believer. And what does it
Mm-hmm.
mean to be a believer? you know what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
you know
And when we know Him, it means that we have a relationship with Him. And so the greater the relationship, the greater my self image will begin to change because I no longer look at myself through the lens of the world and their expectations and what they show us. But I look at myself through his lenses and what he says about me. And we hear people say all the time that we're created in his image and in his likeness. And if I truly believe that, if I truly had this relationship with him, as you talked about going from point A to point B, then I wouldn't compare myself to the images I see in the world. My image would portray him in his likeness, right? I would speak like he speaks. I would carry myself the way he would. Um, I would walk in that peace. And like you said, a lot of people don't understand what his peace is. And that shalom is, when we think about peace, we think about our English definition of peace, right? But as a believer in the kingdom, we have more than just what that English definition of peace is. We literally have shalom. So, with that, you get harmony, you get wholeness, you get safety, you get health, you get completeness, soundness of mind, you get wealth, prosperity, rest for your soul, welfare for your being, perfectness, and fullness. All 13 of those points you get when you get his shalom, which is the word peace.
so you got a balance, you get a foundation. Peace gives
Absolutely.
you a foundation.
And it gives you everything that we're crawling after and desiring and longing after that we think we need in the world, as a believer, we get that all of that. Wealth, harmony, soundness of mind, welfare for our being, right? Um, Health, safety. We get all of that in His shalom, in His shalom. So we have to know what image we really are portraying.
Yeah.
Are we trying to look like Him? Or are we being lied to by men? The wickedness of men,
Hmm.
like she said in the poem. We've been lied to by the wickedness. And that just tells me that the wicked, because we know who the wicked are.
Right.
The wicked are the believers who know to do good and they
Oh,
don't do good,
good.
right? And so it's not even the people in the world sometimes that are lying to us. We're deceived by those who are supposed to be like us, but they're feeding us lies.
Yeah.
When they're telling us things like, oh, you can't wear makeup. Oh, your skirts have to be down to the floor, right? If you do this or do that, you're going to hell. The wickedness of lies. But what has He told us about our image in His Word,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm. So even when I think about that, when you talked about um, what the lies that we're told, the sad thing is
Mm-hmm,
that the lies that we're told, a lot of them don't even know the difference. They're
mm-hmm,
telling you what they've been taught, what they've seen,
mm-hmm,
what they've heard, and they've never experienced the Father on another level to understand
mm-hmm,
that there is a difference, to understand that
mm-hmm,
all those things is not what matters. What matters is what's in the inside, in our hearts, what's on the inside that causes us to be either nasty or happy. I'm saying happy, but nasty and or loving, should I say? Because the Father is a loving Father. And when we come to know Him and we begin to embrace His love, it allows us to be in a whole different place. It allows us to be in a place where the peace that passes all understanding can begin to
mm-hmm,
develop. These are things that
mm-hmm,
we have to develop into because we're not taught it. We don't know it.
mm-hmm.
So sometimes our image looks the way it looks is because we have no knowledge. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. We
Lack
have
of
no
knowledge.
knowledge. We have no understanding. We just know to read bits and pieces of the word, never putting it all together to understand and have clarity of what's taking
Mm-hmm,
place. So, as a believer, it says a person who believes that a specific thing is effective,
mm-hmm,
proper,
mm-hmm,
or desirable.
mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. That's one of the, and I'm a firm believer that this conversation today is for a reason. I'm a firm
Mm-hmm,
believer that we have to get in a different position than where we are. Time is at excellence. We're at the not the 12th hour, but we're not far from it.
759th hour, as Dr. Masterson said.
Yeah, but we're not far from it.
No.
And that it's time. One of the things that has always been in my heart, and I've taught on it, but I want to take this time during this period and really dive into it, is the image, what His image looks like, what our image looks like, and what is our image supposed to look like. I want to get into that. I want to get into the part of the royalty that we are, whose we are, and why we are. These are things that we hear, we're royal people, but do we know what that really looks like? Do we understand the purpose of what that is? A lot of times, and most of the times, we're not taught about, and I'm not going into marriage, but I want to go through the process, getting to marriage. And we're not taught what that really looks like. I thought about this today, and I thought about even being intimate, and I don't like, I'll say, hearing about sex. It wasn't from my um, parents. It was from the girls on the street. We would sit, and on lunchtime we sit in a circle, and they would talk about what they saw their sister doing, or whatever. And that's how I learned about sex. I never learned the properness of it. I never learned the intimacy. And I want to talk about the intimacy that we need to have first with the Father before we even become intimate with someone else. That there's a big gap in there that's never talked about. So that's those are some of the desires, the things I want to talk about, so that now that it doesn't matter what age you are, this is something that we need to be aware of, but that we can begin to really teach our children. Just don't tell them, uh, uh, don't have sex till you're married. But why?
Right.
What is our
Right.
image that portrays that? What are we teaching them? Even we as adults, we want to be loved.
Absolutely.
you know and so what does that look like when someone comes, and just because they say they love you, do they have a foundation of real love? So
Okay.
those are some of the top things I want to talk about. But this scripture, and I was reading it again, Second Peter, uh the second chapter. And when I was reading it again, it's, I think it's the second, yeah, I think it's the second chapter. Let me see.
That Second Peter.
Second Peter. It talks about, let's see if it's the first chapter. Okay, so let me find it real quick. It's Second Peter. Uh,
Okay.
and it's something we quote all the time, uh,
Mm-hmm.
about the priesthood. Um,
A royal priesthood.
yeah, and I know it's here because I had it here.
It's always like that.
But anyway, as I'm
Second, First Peter two
First
and nine.
Peter 2:1. But if you really look at it and you begin to dissect it, and you really have to start in chapter 1 talking about salvation and coming up to it. But the point I wanted to bring out, and then I never really noticed until I was reading it today, not today, I'm sorry, the other day, and I read it a
Mm-hmm.
couple of times, was that um, even before we get to that part in 9, it talks about it before we get there. If you go back up a little bit, verse, it talks about the priesthood, it talks about who we are, it talks about
Yeah.
image, it talks about
Mm-hmm.
how when the image is inside of us, when Yahweh, I'm gonna say, Adonai, the word is in us. um, um, it takes us and it shapes us, and when it begins to shape us, it shapes us in the image of the Father. And once it
Right.
shapes us in the image of the Father, that's when we become a chosen, holly, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. You're not just these things because you're born, you're these things because you're born again, and you have made a decision that you'll let Yeshua, Christ, in your heart. If we go up to the verse 4, and I'm not, before that, even in before that, and it talks about wherefore, and we talked about that before and how you need to go up. So even if you start in the first birth, and it's talking about the salvation, it's talking about being born again, it's talking about not living a corruptible life, almost like the image that was portrayed on the video we was watching, that being corrupted by the things of the world, and it's because we don't have the knowledge of who he is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you get that knowledge by the word. And don't lose your point. But something she said, he said, you look thin to me. You look like you lost a little weight. And she was like, oh yeah, because I haven't been. I was trying to look
Oh,
good for you, so I haven't been having my daily bread.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the word, right? That is the word that you need. And I like what you're talking about because in verse 2 it says, as newborn babes, you desire the sincere milk of the word. What happened to that? You remember when we first got saved and we just loved the word. And then man, and then all of a sudden,
life.
right. And now we're trying to navigate through life and our our the walk of the believer, but we got more of the world instead of having more of the word, right?
Mhm.
And so he's saying, you look a little thin to me. That's our image. What's our image looking like?
To him.
Are we looking a little thin? Are we fat because we got the word in us?
Yeah. And if you read verse 3, what does it say? If so be ye tasted
Yeah,
that Adonai
yeah.
is
It's gracious.
gracious.
Yeah. And we know that Adonai is the word. So
Yes.
if so be ye have tasted,
Taste it. Have you taken the time? Are
taste,
you positioning yourself to experience more than just saying you know the word, but having a
yeah,
relationship, being in a covenant, understanding what that looks like? Oh, taste and see that Adonai is good. Oh,
good,
taste and see that the word is good. Oh,
good. It's good. I remember years ago. You remember Forrest Gump was saying that life is like a box full of chocolates. You
yes.
never know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're going
I remember when I thought about the word like that.
to. You
When you
don't know.
open up the word, you never know what revelation you're going to get. You could read the same
Over
verse
and over.
every day and get something brand new out of it. It's just like chocolate. You bite, you don't know what flavor you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. But have you tasted it? Have you really tasted it? What comes to me are children who are like eating their food. They're trying to hurry up. You can't go outside until you finish your food. And so they gobble it down so fast, and you're like, slow down. You're not even tasting it. You're literally just putting it in your mouth and swallowing it.
Mhm.
How many of us do that?
When my daughter Adrian was young and her father was in the military, and so he had to eat fast because that's how they trained him. And I remember one day she came home and I said, hold up.
Slow down.
That is not how you gonna be eating. I
Slow
was like,
down.
he had to eat like that because he was in training and they have to eat fast
Fast.
because they have to be ready for battle.
Yeah.
Wait now. Now there's a whole nother thing right there.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
we ready for battle? Do we have enough of the word in us?
No.
Are we really taking the time to develop? Are we taking the time to digest this word?
And you
Apostles been teaching
can't.
us how to
Yeah.
digest this word,
Yeah.
how to get into it, and how to, in other words, embrace it.
And
Can
you know
we
why we
embrace
can't
it?
digest it? We can't digest it because we're eating too fast. You got to slow down and chew and enjoy the flavor of every bite. If you slow down, you can taste the oregano. You can taste the thyme. You can taste. Is that a hint of rosemary? I taste a little garlic. We read entirely too fast because our goal is I got to get this chapter in today because I made a commitment that I'm going to read my Bible every day and I'm going to get through this Bible in 365 days. And so I got to commit to reading a chapter every day. Slow down. We're reading too fast. That's why we can't taste it. And when you eat it too fast, you cannot digest it. It messes up your system when you don't chew your food well and you swallow it, and don't chew it well, then it's hard to digest. It's the same thing with the word. Oh, taste and see that word is good. So slow down. Take your time.
You put it in that slow pot,
Yes.
slow cooker. You know,
Savor
I,
every word. Look
yeah,
up every word.
I used
Look
to like
at
when I put my beef in there and put my potatoes and stuff and didn't have to worry about it. But when I came home, it was nice and tender, and you can smell it, and you can take it would the, just to think that you put a fork in it and it fell apart. When we begin to digest the word like that, that's even before you digest it, but just being able to appreciate the meal that has been prepared. When we begin to appreciate this meal, which is the word that has been prepared for us to show us how to live an abundant life. We like to say, I wish above all that you prosper, be in good health, even as your soul prosper. Oh, and never take the time to find out what that looks like.
it's the good health part.
The good health.
How do you have good health? How do you eat? How you eat? How you take care of the body that you're given? When you do that, then your soul will prosper. It's the same thing.
The soul.
Yeah.
We forget about the soul. And we go around circle after circle after circle, banging our head against the same thing because the soul has not been healed. And we don't understand what we're going through and the way we're going through it because we have not been able to connect it all together. We've been getting able to confess it, but not live it. Why? We don't take the time to come into covenant. Psalms of Solomon says, "Come away, my beloved." We have to find time to come away. We're his beloved.
Yes.
And when we continue to read, I'm going to go down. I mean, this whole thing is good, but
Mhm.
even if, all right, four, my stomach is like leaping all over the place. To whom cometh as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of Elohim, of God, and precious. We have been chosen, we are precious, and it's not of man.
Yeah.
It's not of man. And please understand that this is not even deep talk. This is surface talk.
Mhm.
But to understand that you're precious, to understand that in 5 it says, ye also as living stones. Now, the building, I'm not going to go into that, not today, are built upon a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer unto spiritual sacrifice acceptable to Elohim by Yeshua.
Mhm. Mhm.
The stone that the building rejected.
But
Let me
he's
finish
the
reading.
living stone. Yeah. He's the living stone.
And the only way you can become part of that living soul stone is to embrace who he is.
Absolutely.
You know, And it says, I don't even know where I am, 6. Wherefore also it is contained in the scriptures. How do we know what's contained in the scriptures unless we, unless, and not, I don't want to say read it, I want to say study it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elected, elects, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not confound. So even before we get to who we are, he's telling us whose we are,
That's right.
and the process of it, he's telling us all that we can attain if we understand these things.
Mm-hmm. It's contained in the scripture. And if you don't understand where that is, that's in Torah. That's in the first 5 books. How do we know who we are? It's in those first 5 books.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so good. But if we can't, let's go back up to 4 real quick. To whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men. How many of us have felt rejected by men? You know, discouraged because I didn't look like this one, or I didn't talk like this one, or didn't act like they act. I don't fit in here, don't fit in there. Uh, some things we've done to ourselves, but other things because we've looked at how things are presented in the world. And if I cannot present myself this way, you feel rejected by men. But where they have rejected you, Elohim has chosen you. And not only has he chosen us, we're precious to him. That's a powerful verse. You're rejected by man, but you're chosen by him. And you're precious to him. That means you're invaluable. You cannot be replaced. My dad used to say all the time, often imitated but never duplicated. There is not one individual that is made like you, that walks like you, talks like you. Even if you have an identical twin, there's still some distinct characteristics about each one. Don't
Yeah,
they all have, each of them have still have their own fingerprints and all of this? Even though they're identical, they're still distinct and precious to him.
yeah, it's true. That's so true. I was reading the other day about twins, and they were talking about how you can still identify them, even if they are identical, that there's something that's different about them.
Something. There, one's going to have a mark, like a birthmark somewhere, or uh, something's going to be different. Maybe even though they're identical, one hair has just a slight different wave. Something is going to be different to make them identical. And that's the same way with us.
Yeah,
We might feel rejected and have been rejected by man, but Elohim chose us, and we are precious to him. And I
yeah,
think if we realized how precious we were to him, we would stop trying to conform to the image of the world.
yeah. Because he made us,
Hmm.
he's our creator. And because he's our creator, he causes us to live a life that is different and separate from the world. And this is what this talks about. But I want to go because we're already at the time to 9. It says, "But ye are chosen generation," and we're gonna have to come back here because there's just so much that's that's left on the table. And yeah, uh, um, I wanted to talk about, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praise of him who has called you out of darkness into the marvelous light. And when I look at that, and the part that I want us to get and understand is that the royalty that's within us, that the Father's trying to birth out of us. And when we become, um, really understand who we are, when I think of a wedding, and something that I do want to talk about, but when I think of the bride and the groom, the bride comes in, she's dressed like a queen, and the groom is dressed like the king. And when we begin to really understand what that looks like and what it is, it's not just to be beautiful. We are representing something. When those doors are in Joel, it talks about the man coming out of the side, and the doors from the doors being open, and behind the door is the bride.
Mhm.
It talks about the train. It talks about each particle, the veil, and an apostle even talked about it yesterday. But when we begin to understand what all these parts mean and how they still represent the Torah,
Yes.
how it still represents, just getting married is not it. That's what the world makes you think. So we had this dream of the white picket fence. We had this dream of this prince coming on this white horse to sweep us away. But we don't realize that it's deeper than any of that. That there's a process that we need to go through now so that we can connect with the Father. It doesn't matter if you're married and you're already connected. You still, there's areas that you miss because you just got married, because they tell you in the church it's better to marry to than to burn, and then you marry someone that is not even compatible to do what Yahweh has called you and created you to do together.
Mhm.
And I like the 11, the first part, it starts with dearly beloved. What do they tell you in a marriage?
We are gathered here today.
So we don't have time this morning, but we're going to stay here and really bring this out, because my desire is that, and I'm about to cry, just the word itself, and what the word represents, and but I really want us to understand who we are
Yes.
and how much we have missed
Yes.
because we've never been taught
Yes.
the royalty,
Yes.
the what that looks like. We are people with an inheritance
Absolutely.
that we have not received because we don't know what it is. Do we know what our inheritance really is? So shalom is a part of our
It
inheritance.
is.
And everything that's in it is what we need to survive.
Yes. That's good. That's good.
So we're going to be here and we're going to really dig into this thing, because we still have people that are getting married,
Mhm.
planning to get married. And there's a whole process that needs to happen before you even dive into it. And my desire is to encourage people, or to really get an understanding of who we are before we hook up with the wrong person. Yeah. So I don't know if you really thought about what image you portray.
Mm.
You were getting ready to say something.
No, no, it's good. It's good. And we're at the top of the year. So we might as well, this is the perfect time. At least we're at the top of the year of the Gregorian calendar. So it's a perfect time to do some
Yes.
reflection. Do you really know what image you're portraying?
And from the time you say, yes, I will, to the time you say, I do, what is that really looking like? Are you caught up in the material things of it? Or do you really want to know the better part of you that makes you the better person to marry another person?
And are you ready to be that wife and that husband that Yahweh requires? And do you even know what that looks like?
Other than saying my clock is ticking, other
And
than saying nobody else is
I
looking,
want to get married because it's better to marry than to burn.
that one right there is a whole topic by itself. So many people have messed up because of the flesh.
Yeah. But honestly, do we really know what marriage looks like in the eyes of Yahweh?
And guess what? Marriage is the illustration of what our relationship with him is supposed to look like.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what they were showing us in that video. Where's your ring? Not supposed to be on you. It's supposed to be in you.
What she
You
say?
call it.
Lashes. And
Yeah.
he said, I went for my eyelashes. I took the lashes for your lash, the nails.
The nails for your nails, right? And he said, you call it crucifixion. I call it a proposal.
And that's what we're going to be talking about, the
Yeah.
proposal, the proposal process, the meantime. How do we get from here to there healthy? And then we're going to close. And I remember one time Apostle was talking about it, and he says, well, did you do those things? And I said, no. First of all, I was studying it and I was learning it, but in my mind, it was for the Jews. Things we're going to talk about, oh, that's for the Jews, but I was still studying it and learning it. And the second part, my husband didn't know a thing about what I was talking about. So, no, it was not perceived, it was not brought out that way. And I said, well, Father, why I'm learning, why I got to talk about all this now? And it's not about me, but it's about him and his purpose for our lives.
Mm.
So tune in next week. We'll be here. If you have any questions, DM us. We'll be happy to, yes, the replay will be on. Be happy to help in whatever way we can. My desire really is to see us do better even before we get married, so that when we do get married, we have a healthy relationship. All the time, we think that was the wrong person. No, it wasn't the wrong person. You just wasn't prepared. It's not always the wrong person. Preparation is a big part of it. And we go from I do, from yes, I will to I do because we think that that's it. Once I say, yes, I'll marry you, I'm prepared to be married, and that's the end of it. And it's not.
From yes, I will, I do, to I want a divorce.
Right. And what did they do in the word? When they came to the family because they wanted to marry the daughter, and the daughter said yes, they went away and prepared. The woman
Absolutely.
is being prepared how to be that wife, how to beautify herself, and then he's going away and he's building the home, he's putting things in place. There's things to still be done between the yes and the I do
Hmm.
that we need to do differently.
Absolutely.
So, Wanda, you want to close us out? Apostle was like, you don't close out. You want to close us out?
Well, we want to thank everyone for being here today. And if you missed the first part of Leslie's Lessons Learned, please go back, review the replay, check out the video because it's going to be the foundation of a lot that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, along with the passage in First Peter 2 and 9. And so we want to thank everyone for being here today. And please join us next week, same time, same place at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're in the Bay Area, it's going to be 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But we want you to know that we love you so much. We appreciate you for being here. But guess what? Yahweh loves you the best. And so until we see you next week, have a wonderful, phenomenal week. Remember, what image are you really portraying? I want you to think about that this week. We do. And then meet us here next Sunday. But until then, we'd like to say shalom. Have a wonderful day.
And thank you, everyone that's here. I'm sorry, everyone that's here. Thank you so much for being here. Please hit the like sign, subscribe, and share wherever you're tuning in from. Some is in the afternoon, but we appreciate you being here. I want to say thank you to both my daughters because they are here. I appreciate you so much, and to the UK, Cali, wherever you're here from. I'm just going to start saying from the US to the Virgin Islands to the UK, wherever you're here from. Please enjoy the rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Until we meet again, shalom.
Shalom, everyone.